Hello.
Thank God you came by, Governor.
I'll show you things you'll wish you'd never seen.
Well, the weather outside's really crappy right now, so I'm going to tell you a story about some aliens that could have taken over the world had the weather been just a little better. This one's called Dreamcatcher.
Rock-a-bye, baby, on the treetop.
What do you think?
I think it's no good.
You just watch. That's your job.
So we meet this doctor who is just terrible at his job. See, most therapists would lead you into coming to a realization on your own, but Henry's like, nah, I'm just gonna use my psychic powers to tell this dude what's wrong with his brain.
I never told you any of that.
So when he realizes that he sucks at his job, he tries to shoot himself, but his phone rings and he would rather talk to his buddy Jonesy than kill himself.
Well, let's not get all girly with each other, bucko.
Jonesy wants him to go see their friend Duddits this weekend. And now that he knows that Henry's not gonna off himself, he hangs up to talk to this kid with crappy shoes. Apparently, this kid cheated on a test.
How did you know? You weren't even there that day.
So now we know Jonesy is psychic too. We then go to another psychic, Pete, who creeps out a woman.
Easy, Trish. Maybe I can help.
Did I tell you my name?
And see, she's a real estate agent, and he could have just said he saw one of her flyers.
I guessed.
But she lets his creepiness slide when he leaves work to help her find her keys. But then he doubles down on the creep factor.
You want a candy bar before the aspirin. Mars bar. Yours, right?
Thank you.
And she can't get away fast enough. And he's all like, man, why won't she go out with me?
Don't get freaked out or think that I'm some kind of weirdo who you shouldn't meet for the best fried clams in Maine.
Jonesy then gets a call from Beaver, a toothpick-loving guy, who tells him to be careful. And Jonesy's like, whatever, and then gets hit by a car.
What's the matter with you?
Some psychic.
Well, he saw a naked kid across the street, and he just had to get over to him.
Here you come to save the day. Mighty Mouse is on the way!
So 6 months later, the guys go to this cabin in the woods, where they catch up by talking about their boners and other normal guy stuff.
What, you having wood problems?
Yeah, try Viagra.
We also find out that Jonesy has a memory warehouse, where he has perfect control of what he forgets and remembers.
If he can remember what he forgot, wouldn't he just remember it?
Shut up. That's not how memory warehouses work, I think. Well, they fondly remember when they met their friend Duddits while he was being force-fed a dog turd.
He likes it.
How do you know what he likes?
And after this debate, they threaten to tell their moms on the bullies, so the bullies leave, but promise that they'll get them all individually later, since they're so tough.
That's a good idea.
Beaver then serenades the naked kid, and then go back to being little perverts.
Hey, you don't want to see the homecoming queen's pussy? Don't come.
The next day, Henry and Pete go to town and get super accurate weather predictions.
Double storm. Alberta Clipper first, maybe 8 inches. With a nor'easter on his tail.
And Jonesy and Beaver go to kill defenseless animals.
Those buttholes.
But come across some dude wandering in the woods. Jonesy gets him inside and undresses the gassy bastard.
Bitch and a buzzsaw.
When Beaver gets back, Rick almost shits himself.
Oh no.
So they put him to bed instead of the bathroom. They then go back outside to see all the animals running away from a helicopter that tells them that the area has been quarantined.
Woodsboro Police Department has issued a citywide curfew beginning at 9 o'clock tonight.
Henry and Pete come across another person in the woods and assume it's a woman,
I think it's a woman.
even though she's wearing a big-ass coat and they can only see her from behind.
We'll get up there and we'll strangle this broad.
She then punches Pete in the nuts and they carry her to a lean-to. Henry goes to get help, leaving Pete with this woman, who's also farting up a storm.
Maybe that's how they say hello around here.
Jonesy and the Beav go back inside to see a trail of blood from the bedroom to the bathroom. Rick says he's just pooping, and Jonesy wants to watch so bad that they break the door down. The room is covered with blood from Rick's butt, and he's now dead on the toilet.
Well, I get the same thing from Peanuts.
Beaver pushes him off and into the bathtub, and that's when they hear something swimming in the crapper.
I think it's crap. Different shit today, Pete.
Jonesy puts the seat down, and Beaver sits on it and flushes. Thinking they got rid of it, Beaver pulls out a victory toothpick, and Jonesy's like, yeah, it's toothpick time. But the thing in the toilet is still there, and it makes Beaver drop his toothpicks.
I'm trembling with fear.
Jonesy goes to get some duct tape, while Beaver stays on the toilet to keep the thing from getting out. But Beaver really needs a toothpick from the bathroom floor covered in Rick's ass blood, and lets the thing out, and it goes straight for his crotch.
Got blown last night.
It's a giant worm with teeth, and Beaver's fighting it off when Jonesy comes back.
Punch it, dude. Don't be a pussy.
Beaver begs him to leave, and Jonesy just stares like an idiot while it eats some beaver.
You killed Beaver.
When it comes after him, he finally shuts the door, but I guess it knows how to turn knobs, so he has to hold it shut. But that doesn't matter because this jellyfish alien shows up behind him and explodes so Jonesy can breathe him in.
We got any gas masks, Andy? We need a biohazard team in here.
We then go to the military, where they're putting people with herpes like Rick had in cages, and killing animals with it too.
Those buttholes.
Well, actually, the people and the animals have worms in their buttholes too, so they're trying to help them out.
I guarantee they're gonna try to get out and spread the infection.
The operation is run by Colonel Curtis and his eyebrows, but he wants to let this guy Owen run the op because he wants to make sure he can handle the ETs.
That's right, Bucko. You'll be Blue Boy leader.
Tell me I didn't just say Bucko.
Owen tells him that General Matheson,
3-star General Matheson.
3-star General Matheson thinks that not everybody's going to get infected and wants to keep an eye out for who turns instead of killing everyone. But good old Caterpillar Eyes just wants them all dead.
They've all got to die.
And this guy also takes the Boy Scout honor code very seriously.
Scout's honor.
But I don't know why he would want to purposely disable one of his own men. Killing him or kicking him off the squad would make sense, but not shooting a hole in his hand.
Even I don't trust my judgment anymore.
But Curtis is the kind of guy that cleans up his own mess and tells Owen that he's retiring.
Must be getting too old for this shit.
I'm too old for this shit.
Back with Pete and the farting lady.
Save your energy for those horrendous farts.
Pete is so drunk, he doesn't even notice the blood coming out of this woman's butt. He then hits on her.
I find you very attractive also.
And he tells her how Duddits made them all psychic and telepathic.
Well, then why did they call each other?
I don't know.
They're my friends. We're all best friends.
But Pete writes Duddits' name in the snow, and a butthole worm bites him on the wiener. And then he sets himself on fire to get it off.
Bite my bag, motherfucker.
Back at the cabin, Jonesy finds himself a new hat, and he's really happy about it.
My, that is a gift.
He then snowmobiles to find Henry, but Henry knows that Jonesy's been possessed because of the telepathy that we just found out about. So he hides in a snowdrift before Mr. Gray can see him.
Who the fuck are you?
Jonesy then discovers that Mr. Gray is going through his memory warehouse.
I've studied the foul language section of your memory warehouse.
He then finds Pete, who immediately knows it's not him.
Who the fuck are you? You sound like one of those James Bonds.
He's been infected, so he controls him into telling him how to get out of the state.
Why would he need directions?
Well, since there's a quarantine, he needs to get past the military to spread the red fungus stuff. And apparently the smartest way to get out of the quarantine zone is to take the nearest major highway because the military surely wouldn't be blocking that.
How'd you get us out to 95?
95, who gives a shit?
Henry gets back to the cabin where it's covered in the fungus, and he sees that the butthole worm laid eggs, so he sets the house on fire.
Always thought it'd be my ex-wife did that.
We then see how they learned telepathy and how Pete got his magical finger power from Duddits when they saved a girl that fell in the sewer. And since they found out about her from a missing flyer, she'd been down there for a while.
What have you been eating? Woodchuck turds?
And they also stupidly lowered Beaver down there to pull her up instead of calling the fire department.
Who told you that?
The military finds the alien crash site and start killing all the aliens who are begging for their lives.
Please don't hurt us. We are dying.
The aliens then climb into their ship and self-destruct it, but only Owen and Bushy Brows make it.
You got the best eyebrows in the business.
Mr. Gray and Pete ride, where Pete almost tells him about Duddits, but Pete hears Jonesy tell him not to, so Pete doesn't, and dies.
Couldn't he have just asked him later?
If he would have had one more beer, he might have forgotten that he was an alien and told him, but no, Mr. Impatient had to eat Pete, and Jonesy is quite upset from the memory warehouse.
I'm filing that in the who gives a shit section of my memory warehouse.
Mr. Gray then sees a semi that's heading to the base and stands in the middle of the icy highway at night, hoping it'll stop. He kills the driver and turns the dog evil.
Good doggy.
While this is happening, Jonesy grabs all his files on Duddits and moves them into his private office.
Why does he need a private office in his own head?
In case he ever gets possessed by an alien? Jesus, Lori, pay attention. So Henry gets caught by the military and talks to Owen about how they need to stop Curtis from killing everyone and that they need to find Jonesy before he gets out of the quarantine zone. So even though Henry just told him that he thinks Curtis has gone insane, Owen goes to consult with Curtis about what to do.
Think I'm crazy, Owen?
A little.
Curtis goes to kill Henry, but it was all a trick to break Henry out, while Curtis's men are being stopped by Matheson.
If 3-star General Matheson had been in my spot for the last quarter century, you'd have never made it to your first jerk-off.
Henry tries to reach out to Jonesy.
Pick up the phone.
Call 1-800-HENRY.
So he uses Owen's gun as a phone.
Hello? Jonesy! Give me back my gun.
And somehow they figure out that Jonesy can stay alive with the alien parasite because he died. I'm not sure how that one works, but he knows that Duddits killed him for a reason, and they need to figure out why. They get to his house, and when Owen sees Duddits come down the stairs, he's like, "We drove all this way for this dude?"
He's the one who made us like this.
Like what?
You know, weird.
But his mom is totally cool with sending her sick, handicapped son out in a blizzard because he was excited.
He might die happy.
Now go save the world.
But Curtis put a tracker in Owen's gun, even though he planned on retiring after this mission, and was passing the torch on to Owen.
Should have quit after that mess in Montana.
So Mr. Gray got a flat tire and needs a new ride. So he once again stands in the middle of an icy road at night and takes a cop car. Henry finds out from Duddits that Mr. Gray is trying to put a worm in the Boston drinking water to infect the world.
Somebody to scatter the infection, like Johnny fucking Appleseed.
So Mr. Gray shows up at the reservoir and takes Jonesy's advice, and this crashes the car, so now he has to carry the butthole worm-infested dog the rest of the way.
Really? What about the shit weasels?
Owen, Duddits, and Henry show up. Now, I don't have any issue on Henry knowing how to get there.
Take the 495 to the Mass Pike, it's not far.
But I do find it a little weird that a psychiatrist knows the inner workings of a water reservoir.
Aqueduct to Boston, Sergeant Shaft 12.
So Owen tells him to stay in the Jeep, and then Curtis shows up in a stolen helicopter that none of the rest of the military thought about chasing, and he starts shooting at Owen.
You just drove over the Curtis line!
Owen shoots him down with the gun he gave him, and the helicopter blows up. You know, like helicopters do.
Obviously.
Henry then gets Owen's machine gun and heads up to the pump house.
Scooby-Dooby-Doo, we got some work to do now.
The dog has crapped out the butthole worm.
Good boy.
And Mr. Gray is luring it into the water. But Henry comes in and crappily shoots up the room. But luckily, the butthole worm bites the end of the gun, so now Henry can hit it. But it lays an egg after it dies and hatches immediately. Henry quizzes Jonesy if it's really him, and Duddits comes in, which makes Mr. Gray come out of Jonesy. And all it takes is one look at Duddits and he stabs him. But it turns out that Duddits was an alien too, and stabs Mr. Gray back.
I can't believe he's a human.
They then fight inside of a sleeping bag and blow up.
I Duddits!
Jonesy then steps on the baby butthole worm that somehow knew the evil plan of getting into the water supply.
You don't know shit.
And Henry now knows he got his friend back. I mean, the other two are dead, but he's the only one who called him when he wanted to die, so I guess he's the only one that matters.
Jonesy.
So why is it called Dreamcatcher?
You know, I have no idea. Think about subscribing.
It's the polite thing to do. Polite thing to do.
Oh my god, we came all the way here just for that?
Leave me alone!